Edinburgh College was the at first in Britain to recognise female, but it was a unwilling changing. The monthly symbolism, the anniversary date of the at first consumption in the 1860s, and the revolt, how the response to their teaching inflicted a year after. Sophia Jex-Blake led the females' formation accusation in Britain, but florid opposition to her aspirations of an previous year. Jex-Blake requested to be a physician in a period while it was inconceivable for a female to be a. She requested to changing how, and ultimately, she did. Unborn in Hastings, she was informally educated man and was initially stopped of visiting school by her parents. But established to conduct her formation, a lifetime campaign for females' rights was seemingly intended. Following a time of research in Edinburgh, Jex-Blake passing to the U.S. in 1865 to find out more than on females' formation. There she met Dr. Lucy Sewell, a militant for public health and public reformation, an inhabitant doctor at the New England Clinic for Female. The meet, near-period consumable as an aide at the clinic, encouraged Jex-Blake to pursue her vision of creature a physician. The struggle was fair start. She was rejected accession to Harvard on sort perspectives, a aversion email recite, down there is no regulation for the formation of female in any division of the college. Decisive, her a search for formation extended, but she was constrained to back to England next the die of her dad. In dismal prospects for females' formation at household, Jex-Blake looked polar to Scotland, wherever a more than educated type on formation was leaking. In March 1869, following domestic tension, Edinburgh College adopted Jex-Blake's annex, but it was ultimately discarded by the college trial on the perspectives the college could not do the required institutional arrangement in the concern of one dame. Irrepressible by her newest failure, a campaigning transferred in the Scots paper named on more than female to exceed her. The history collected focus and more than female united her reason, enterprising to research medical in Edinburgh. In November 1869, the female got the enrollment examination and were acknowledged to the college Care High School. The college loaded them high charges, and the female, led by Jex-Blake, were constrained to organize lectures for themselves due to a embrasure whereby college personnel were allowed but not required to learn female. Though was fair the begin of the problems they would person. Joe Spiller, of Edinburgh College, believes it was a strained period at the college. This establishment was really separated. The votes on if to go on in the female students were really shut and down. There are several archived diaries of students who were very frightened on how the female were creature purified, she told. Slight more than rather than a year after, stress would rotate enemy in the general surgeon's room revolt on November 18, 1870. A mob of more than rather than 200 human beings pelted the female in mud and nonsense as they done their way to sit and dissection examination. The misuse was unfaltering before a advocate hastily unbolted a doorway to get them within. Next the occurrence, Jex-Blake wrote, on the afternoon of Friday, November 18, 1870, we walked to the general surgeon's room, wherever the dissection survey was to be detained. As quickly as we achieved the general surgeon's room, we saw a tight mob fill up the way. The mob was adequate to halt all the traffic for in time. We walked up to the gates, that remained outdoor before we came during a courtyard of them, while they were slammed in our many faces by a quantity of youthful men. M.S. Spiller added, there was the at first coordinated try for female to classify in degrees of UK universities. Down there was a lot of supporting, but as the weeks and months went on and the female did really so, down there begun to be a increasing opposition to them, a really strong opposition. As students set the examination, the mob shoved a lamb in the room, challenging havoc. It is told the prof in accusation of the examination remarked, this lamb can remain, it is obviously more than smart rather than such out down there. The scandal would be named as the General Surgeon's Room Revolt, and it was the start of the end of the head of education equity. Paper scope swayed social view in favor of the female, but at the college discrimination grew, they were rejected accessing towards and locked of ending in degrees. Edinburgh became the attention of a domestic discussion, particularly following the General Surgeon's Room Revolt, how became major. Eventually, it was too late for the college to knob on to MS Spiller. They struggled on and got all the training they necessary, but they fair couldn't get the college to let them sit the exams they necessary. They fair ran out of options. Knocked together downward by the statute quo one day, once again, Jex-Blake was irrepressible and extended to strength changing. The battlefield was displaced to London wherever she extended to campaigning, and in 1874, Jex-Blake played an essential part in installation of the London High School of Medical for Female. On to MS Spiller, this pulse obtained above such 4 persons year in Edinburgh became irresistible. Aided by Jex-Blake's efforts, the Care Act accompanied quickly following, enabling the care license of all human beings, independently of sort. Jex-Blake eventually acquired her extent while she was decorated an MD in Bern, Switzerland. Lot of the Edinburgh 7 were constrained to Europe to conduct their teaching. Take benefit of new law, she refundable to the UK Isles and sat exams in the School of Physicians in Dublin, and became one of Britain's at first woman doctors. Ultimately Jex-Blake refundable to Edinburgh, proper Scotland's at first practitioner woman physician. She went on to found the Edinburgh High School of Medical for Female and the Edinburgh Clinic and Clinic for Female and Family, after Bruntsfield Clinic. Her policy effect as well extended as she backed the authorizing draft, that permitted care survey boards to include women candidates. Nominally you can comparison Sophia and Malala, fight for girls' and females' education rights, the concept of equitable box and no favor, added MS Spiller. We can overlook how we had these periods of confusion in our own story, how at one spot down there was enormous impedance to the concept of female departure to college and receive a vocational formation. Thou can't do a full counterpart, but at the period it was a enormous item she took at. In the wake up of Jex-Blake's way, the College of Edinburgh acknowledged female to grade in medical 1894. In compliance in her lifetime's job, she had campaigned for females' electoral right before her die in 1912. She is commemorated by a platelet at the major entry of the college's Care High School house, wherever females sit in classes how she was engraved off of.